Sup dogs. So I've been talking about buying a Honda VFR800Fi motor for a little while now in some of my videos for an engine rebuild project. Well, I found a motor to buy at quite a reasonable price on eBay about a week ago, and I made the guy an offer of £170. It was listed at £206. I offered him £170 and he accepted, and he posted it pretty much straight away. It wasn't marked as posted, but it has actually arrived today. So a little bit about the motor. It's a VFR800Fi, a UK engine. It's, according to the seller, it's got 35,000 miles on the clock. I've not seen the clocks, but it's a big breaker's yard, so I'll take his word for it. Just assume that it's kind of reputable. Seems to be quite reputable. And also there's a YouTube video on the eBay listing which shows the motor running, and it sounds really good in the video, so that's a good sign. It looks like it's running fine. What I'm going to do, I've messaged the seller and asked if I can use the YouTube video on my YouTube channel. If he says I can, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to include that video in this video at the end, or I might upload it separately depending on how things work out, but one way or another the video of the motor running should be on YouTube. It's only maybe, I don't know, a couple of minutes long, something like that. It's not a very long video, but it just gives you some idea of how it sounds. So like I say, the motor arrived today about midday. Came on a pallet, and it was kind of like shrink wrapped. So basically what I did was I cut the shrink wrap off and kind of wrestled the motor inside. It's pretty heavy. It's not really a one-man lift. I don't know, maybe some people could lift it. I didn't really manage to lift it clean off the ground. Basically I kind of like partly rolled and partly walked it into the flat, and then kind of wrestled it onto my DIY motor stand, the same motor stand that I used for building the CBR. And then I've finished unwrapping it and I've had a look at it. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to have a look at the motor and you can see what you think. So here we go. This is it. This is the motor. Obviously it's a little bit dirty. It is a second-hand motor. That's kind of what you expect. Seems to be pretty good condition. Haven't really seen any particular kind of issues with it, any kind of damage. The only slight damage on it is that there's a little bit of damage to the engine case there. Obviously the bike's been dropped at some point. That's probably why the bike's been broken. But it hasn't gone through the engine case. It still holds oil, which is kind of the main thing. What I'll probably do is I'll paint that engine case anyway, as part of the rebuild process. That'll be getting kind of sanded and painted. Like I said, it's a little bit dirty, but it'll clean up quite well. Don't see why that shouldn't clean up. Obviously it's kind of an all aluminium engine, so it doesn't really have any rust on it. There's a little bit of aluminium corrosion on the thermostat, but what I'll do is I'll clean that up. If it doesn't clean up too well, there's a possibility I could replace it, because it's not really part of the motor. It's just, you know, attached to the cooling hoses. Haven't really looked down these ports yet. They're kind of dark. I would need a light really to see down those. The spark plug, the engine still has its spark plugs. You can't actually see in there because it's, again, because it's dark. You can kind of see with the naked eye, but I don't think it shows on the camera. But there are spark plugs in there, and they look quite clean. Obviously you've got the crank breathers here. There's still a sprocket on it, but obviously I won't be reusing the sprocket. I'll put a new sprocket on, but obviously that's a long way off. That'll be kind of like the last thing to do. in the build process. So that's pretty much it. It's got kind of all sorts of hoses and sensors and what have you. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's maybe the pulse generator. Again, I probably won't reuse things like that. I'll probably get new ones if I can afford to. I'm guessing that's probably something to do with cam timing or something like that. And there's another one there. I'm not sure where that goes. It goes into the top of the gearbox, sorry, not the gearbox casing, the clutch casing. That actually, come to think of it, that's probably the pulse generator. That will be something else. Oh, actually I know what that is. That's the alternator. That's the wire from the alternator. And there's another connection there. That will be temperature sensor, I think, so that goes in next to where the water hose union is connected. So it's got some kind of engine. Actually, that's not an engine mount. That's like a radiator mount to mount the radiators. There's another one on that side. Again, I probably will replace those rather than reuse the old ones. Again, it depends on how the finances go. What have we got here? We've got another wire there that goes through to that 6-pin block connector, and that connects down onto the underneath of the clutch casing. In fact, that goes into the gearbox. That's probably something to do with like the neutral indicator or the gear position indicator or something like that. I'm not sure. There was an engine mount bushing fell out, aluminium engine mount bushing. That probably goes in, maybe goes in the other side of there. I'm not sure, but anyway, we'll figure that out. It has got exhaust bolts in it, exhaust studs. That one's actually finger tight, which is a good sign. It suggests they'll probably come out quite easily. That one's also finger tight. That one, oh yeah, that one's finger tight as well. And so is that one. So that's all four on those sides are just finger tight. So that's a good start, because sometimes exhaust bolts can be hard to get out. Let's try these. Finger tight. Yep, that's moving a bit as well, finger tight. And that one, can't seem to budge that one. That one's finger tight. No, I can't budge that one. Right, so there's one exhaust bolt I can't budge, but to be honest, I mean, the thing is they've taken the exhaust off, so these bolts must have been removed recently, so they will come out. That's a genuine Honda oil filter, I think. Let's have a look. Is that Honda? Yep, it says, see if I can get the camera to focus, it says Honda on it. Right, so if it's got a genuine Honda oil filter, that probably means that somebody's kind of not cut corners with servicing it, so that's a really good sign as well. Yes, that's pretty much it. So the first step will be to remove the hoses and all the electrical bits and pieces, all the various sensors and this and that all need to all come off. Then what I'll do is I'll give it a good kind of degrease, give it a bit of a clean up with wire brushes and what have you, and get some degreaser or some white spirit or something and some rags, and get all the grime off the dirty bits, the gearbox and the front end of the motor. It's pretty obvious which is the front and the back. This is the back, these are the back cylinders, that's why they're really clean, and those are the front cylinders, so they're a bit rougher looking, obviously because the front end of the bike gets more of the crud from the road and salt from winter roads and what have you. But basically it seems like a pretty straight motor, so it's kind of ideal for a rebuild project. I'm really happy that I managed to get a motor that good for 170 quid. Absolutely no complaints there at all. That is assuming I don't get it apart and find that it's got nasty bits inside, but obviously I've seen it running in the video, so should be fine. So that's great. So thanks for watching, and as usual, if you've liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all the rest of it. I do appreciate it when people do that. It does help my channel. Super. Thanks very much. See you later.